right now. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Jeff Wells, son of Bishop Wells. And we were talking a while ago in my profession as a law enforcement officer and school resource officer in Belleville. I have come to realize and see a lot of problems that our kids are having, particularly around the internet, particularly the dangers that they face. Anywhere from cyberbullying to being stalked on the internet by older people who are trying to take our children for whatever reasons. So in trying to kind of research and trying to get some numbers, get a better idea, get a better understanding of all these things that are going on, I decided to try and reach out to somebody who might have better knowledge about exactly what's going on, which led me to Alyssa Castleman. Alyssa Castleman works for the Illinois Attorney General's Office for the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force. Did I say that correct?
Yes.
All right, it's a mouthful. And so she was kind enough to come down here and speak to our church and to anyone who is listening right now about exactly what she's seeing and what's going on, and then hopefully that we can all avoid some pitfalls. So it's not just for adults, it's for these kids as well. As technology is rapidly changing, rapidly evolving, it's very hard to keep on top of all these avenues and all these ways and all the risks that our children are facing today. So without further ado, I'm going to let her come up here. She'll introduce herself, and then she'll go through a small presentation, and then we'll have a little talk afterwards. Thanks.
All right, good evening, everybody. I am Alyssa Castleman, and I am working for the ICAC Task Force. So our ICAC Task Force is made up of a broad range of people. We have attorneys on our team who protect our victims in court. We have analysts who are on the computers at all times looking at different crimes that could possibly be committed. And then if they do find a crime or any information, they then send it over to our investigators. So our investigators are pretty much cops, and they investigate all the crimes. And if they do find a crime is being committed, then they investigate even more, and then they go after the person. We have forensic examiners on our team. I always like to tell the kids and ask if they watch NCIS or CSI, any shows like that, and they get super excited about it. But I explain that that is kind of their job. They look at all of the evidence. It has to do with computers, phones, tablets, any type of technology. They review that, and they get the information and evidence off those. And then we have internet safety specialists, which is my job. And I have a friend in Chicago who covers the Chicago portion. And we pretty well travel all of Illinois and inform kids, teachers, students, anybody on internet safety and the dangers that are out there. So, okay. All right, one more, sorry. So with technology and connectivity, there are dangers such as child pornography, sexting, sextortion and exploitation, online enticement, child sex trafficking, and cyberbullying. And we're going to cover pretty well all of those topics today and kind of go more in depth with those. So we're going to talk about online connectivity, account maintenance and managing your accounts, risks that are out there, monitoring as a parent, and reporting if you are seeing a crime online. So when you are online, it's always good to take time off. Get offline, go outside, experience life rather than just being on your phone all the time. Online is great, the internet's great, it's a wonderful resource, but there are dangers. It can have an impact on the social, emotional part of things. It can have an impact on your body and the way you look and the way you feel about yourself. Some kids lose their sense of self-identity. They're trying to look like these influencers online, these bloggers, and fit the perfect image when they don't have to. If they're offline and they're not seeing that constantly, it takes that pressure away. They lose their problem-solving skills because, they're not working with their hands and they're not working in real-life scenarios. They're just scrolling through Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all of the apps constantly. They kind of lose their relationship skills and how to have a conversation in person. It's easier to text rather than call somebody. I know my grandparents, they're like, Alyssa Marie, why can't you just call me? Rather than texting about everything. So there are just major dangers out there rather than, being cyberbullied, than sexting, exploitation. It has an impact on a person mentally and physically. Okay. So with excessive screen time, like I said, there are the downfalls. Obesity we're seeing a lot because a lot of kids like to game and they just sit and they eat at their device or their Xbox or whatever they might be streaming on. They're not getting the movement of being outside, running, walking, and the exercise. They lose sleep because they're on their phones constantly, along with the games. There's often school problems because I know for a fact I was in high school 5 years ago. I was more worried about my social media account than I was with doing my homework and doing well in school. And that does have a downfall. Your grades slip. When you're applying for colleges, you lose that. So there's just a lot of risks with this. There's oftentimes aggression with not wanting to get off a game or your phone. They might retaliate. Anxiety because they are not getting that social aspect in the real world. They are talking with somebody online and, if they go to talk to somebody, they're like, oh, I actually have to do this in person, and the anxiety starts with that. Your social skills are impacted and the emotional judgment because you don't have the face-to-face conversations. And so are your students or your child prepared to get technology? Are they at the right age? So there are a couple of things we're going to go over, like with creating accounts and seeing if your child is the right age. Oftentimes, when you're downloading an app, there's always the age restriction on there. So with Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, you have to be 13 to even download the app or get on it. The new trending app we're seeing a lot is Be Real, and kids have to be 12 to get on this, but we're seeing as young as 3rd grade kids getting on this app and socializing on it. So when you are creating your accounts, if you're setting with your child and watching them and helping them enable the privacy settings, review the app with them prior to downloading. Is this app safe? Is it just a random app they decided they want, or is it something that is actually safe and age appropriate for them? Utilize the trusted sites, so sites you are familiar with, not just some random site. Don't go out and Google anything. We often see that with kids. Enable the privacy settings. They are there for a reason. Make sure your location's off. Make sure you're only adding people you know in real life. And consider the security questions. The most common is, what's your mom's maiden name? It would be extremely easy to look at my account, then find my mom's, and you have her maiden name, and there's my security question for pretty well all of my accounts. So choose the security questions that are a little bit harder and more tough, and that you kind of have to think about when you're answering. And then also consider who is on the app. Consider the other people that might be on there. Who else are you going to be interacting with? Who else is your child going to be interacting with? And once again, turn off the location settings. The new apps like Be Real, if your location is on, it is a precise location. It's not just the general area, it's exactly where you are. With Instagram, their new feature, if you're tagging your location on there, once again, it's the precise location. I always tell the kids, if I were to walk across the street from my office and stand in front of the Capitol and post a picture of me in front of it and tag the location, you know what street I'm standing on, not just the general area. So there are major safety concerns with the location. Okay. And with protecting your passwords, I know it kind of sounds silly not to write it down, because how else are you going to remember it, if it's a really strong password? But don't write it down, because you could lose this and this could get in somebody else's hands. Memorize your password, don't write it down. Don't use the same password across every account. I always tell the kids that if they do that and somebody gets their password, they're giving that person access to every single account that they might have. Incorporate numbers and symbols and letter substitutions, like my name's Alyssa, so instead of spelling that out, I would use the @ sign, exclamation point, dollar signs, anything to change the format of it, along with phrases. Like we use the example of physics, how it's normally spelled PHY, you could do FIS, anything just to kind of change it up with your passwords. And then additional precautions is keep a firewall updated. Whether you're browsing on Google, anything like that, keep that updated because it is there to protect you. Allow auto-updating, don't, set it to where you have to confirm it, you have to update it yourself, because we often forget, I myself do it. So let that auto-update, and always log off. We had an incident with a little boy. He was streaming online the video game he was watching and playing, so his camera was on him. He forgot to log off, and he took his iPad into his bathroom with him and set it up on his bathroom sink while he was taking a shower to listen to music. The camera was still on and he was live streaming, so everything of this boy was shown on camera, and that would be easy for somebody to screenshot or to access. So make sure you're logging off of whatever app, device, anything you're on, and run internet searches of yourself. I always tell the kids that I played volleyball and I was a cheerleader in high school. So, oftentimes articles are posted in your newspaper. All I had to do was search my name in the high school I went to, and you could see a picture of me playing volleyball. You could see a picture that was linked to my Facebook account because my privacy settings were not enabled. So you never know what's going to be out there unless you search and you get that content removed. And then this is an example I show the kids with TikTok. There's an eyeball at the top with a number by it, and that is who has viewed your profile in the last 30 days. You always want to make sure your profile is private. An example I give the kids is I used to teach first grade. If I was posting a video of my 21st graders doing a craft and my account was public, I'm giving complete strangers access to all 20 of my kids. All they had to do was look at my account, figure out my name, look at my Facebook, my Instagram, and figure out what school I worked at, Google the school's address, and there they are. They could sit and watch and figure out what time we went to recess, what time we were outside for a brain break, and they had access to my kids. If I was going to post a video of my 15-year-old little brother and tag his account, I was giving strangers access to my little brother again. And I try and relate to the kids and tell them, this is my actual TikTok account, so I know what's out there. And then I walk through the 3 lines at the top right-hand corner. That is where you would enable your privacy settings. Click on that, settings and privacy, and then the 2 pictures on the right will drop down, where there are more precautions on there, such as your downloads, mentions, comments. You don't want to have your downloads on, and make sure your child's downloads are not on, because that is allowing just random strangers to download the content they are posting on TikTok, and then it's saved on their phone as a video. We had an incident with a girl. She did this, and somebody downloaded her content, deleted the sound on it, and did a voiceover and said just really nasty and inappropriate things, and that was shared out in the community. Luckily, her lips and the words didn't match up right, and people knew these were things she would never say. But this could have been very dangerous and caused her a lot of problems if people did not know her personally. Along with duets, so a duet is a video you post of yourself on TikTok, and then somebody can duet it if this is on and their video is posted right next to yours. So it's posted within the same thing. So this is opening up a lot of doors for more dangers, because I could post a video of me, very innocent, no harm, and somebody else could put their video next to it and do inappropriate things and post inappropriate content, and then that's linked to my account. So you just always want to make sure these privacy settings are enabled. And then next is Snapchat. So Snapchat is extremely popular, but the only danger with Snapchat is the Snap Map. So this shows your precise location of where you are. But what most kids don't know is if you are not in ghost mode, you can actually Google maps.snapchat.com without even having an account, and you can pull up the Snapchat map. So the little hotspots are formed when there are a bunch of people posting in one specific location on a public story. So we had an incident with 3 boys, and they were doing this. They were posting on a public story at a park, and there was somebody watching the map. It was a 50-year-old man, and he decided to go to that location. He tried to kidnap one of the kids. A fight broke out. The boy ended up in the hospital over it, and the man was arrested. I always tell the kids that this was not the boy's fault. This situation could have been avoided if they would have had their location off, but they are the victims. This was the man's fault for doing this. But once again, you just always want to be in ghost mode, because ghost mode does not show you on the map. You can only allow certain people to see your location if you would like. Like, this is actually my Snapchat, and the only person that can see my location is my mom. She knows where I'm at 24/7, but it's just a safety feature for Snapchat. And we always talk about safe profile pictures. It sounds kind of silly not to have your face as your profile picture, but I try and tell the kids that if I search somebody's name that I'm looking for and their profile picture is their face, it just confirms that it's their profile, and I can get more information about them from that. Whereas if it's a picture of like the flowers up here, or a random color, or a sports team, it's harder to kind of link the person to their account. So it's just another safety feature we always try and talk about. And then curating safe photos. Just from this picture of this boy, we can gather a lot of information about him. He goes to JFK Junior High, he likes the Chicago Bears, and he likes Star Wars. And the kids always point out there's trophies in the back, so he's probably an athlete, he's into sports. And it's just very dangerous to post so much information about you. I always tell the kids that we had an incident with a girl in junior high. She was a YouTuber, and she was super crafty, very artistic, so she was posting these videos on YouTube. What she didn't know is there was a 60-year-old man watching all of her videos. He never liked, he never commented, never subscribed, nothing. She had no idea this was going on. She posted a video one day in the hallway of her school, and there was a poster in the back that explained a play the school was putting on. So it said the school name, the location, the time, and he could gather all of that information just from that one video. So he got this information and he went to the school one day at dismissal. He looked for her, didn't see her, so he went back a second day. Looked for her again, didn't see her, went back a third. And the third day he saw her and he went up to her and just told her how much he loved her and how much he was obsessed with her and tried getting her to go home with him. Terrified the girl, which it would terrify anybody, you know, the stranger coming up to you. Luckily, her teachers were around and her friends, and they knew this wasn't right. So they called the cops, and the man was arrested over the situation. This could have been avoided if she was careful about what she was posting. We never want to post about our jobs, what you're doing, the school you go to, any activities like that. So my parents were always super careful with me since I was an athlete and posting pictures in my cheerleading uniform or anything like that, because they could Google JJS where I went to high school, Southern Illinois, and they automatically had access to my school website, my sports schedules, and then they could show up to any of my games. So you always want to make sure you're monitoring these pictures, these videos, and making sure there's no information that's personal that could be given out. And online posts in students' futures. A lot of times students don't realize that what they're posting has a major impact on their future. I try and talk about their digital footprint, and this information that you're putting online, your pictures, your comments, your posts, your videos, stays with you forever. It's online forever. You might think it's deleted, but it's not. It's out there. So being careful about the inappropriate content you're posting, whether it be inappropriate pictures, drinking, partying, anything like that, adult activities, especially if you're underage, posting those, violence, hate speech, or any risky or illegal behavior. Because like I said, it's a part of your digital footprint and stays with you for forever. Checking friends often is also a huge ordeal. Just monitoring their friends list, making sure it's people they know in real life, not a friend of a friend, not an online friend that they met through a game or a dating app or an app in general. I always try and tell them that a friend online is somebody you have met in person. It's somebody you've talked to face that you actually know. Knowing the difference between online and personal friends is very important because they think they met them online. So it's okay that they're friends and they're on their social media, but they are giving that stranger access to their accounts. And a lot of the time they don't know if it's actually that person. Like I said, it could be a 50-year-old man, a 60-year-old man, a woman. You don't know who it actually is. So it's always important to check their friends list constantly and making sure that you know them in person and that they know them in person. And next is cyberbullying. I always touch on the topics of the two common tactics. There's malicious and there's common tactics. And what separates bullying from cyberbullying is done online. So cyberbullying is willful. It happens on purpose. You can't accidentally cyberbully somebody. You are meaning to harm them, and this is done with ill intent. You're meaning to hurt that person, whether it be mentally, physically, it doesn't matter. And it is repeated. It's not a situation that happens one time. It's over and over and over. And once again, it happens on computers, cell phones, tablets, anything that the kids can access the internet on. So the common tactics are more of what you're going to see online in general. The mean comments, the embarrassing pictures, the inappropriate pictures maybe of somebody else, along with doxing. Doxing is where you're posting somebody's private information. Their address, their phone number, their parents' names, where they live, where they go to work, where they go to school. Any personal information that should not be shared is posted online with intent to hurt that person. So those are more of the common tactics we see. They're still awful, but they happen. And the malicious tactics are the more severe, the more dangerous tactics that we see. There's lies and false accusations. We had an incident with a couple girls, and they were out one weekend partying, and they were in high school, obviously underage. This got reported to the school, and come Monday morning, they got in really big trouble over it. They decided to be mad at a girl that had nothing to do with the situation because they didn't want to hold themselves accountable for their actions. So they started posting embarrassing pictures of her, just reaming her online and saying awful things about her that weren't true because they wanted to be mad at somebody other than themselves. So this is a tactic that is often seen. There's jealousy and orientation, whether it be your religious beliefs, who you're attracted to. We often see cyberbullying over this, and people being mad at somebody over their clothing, the hair, what they drive, where they live, just a jealousy deal. There's encouraging self-harm or suicide, being mad at somebody and encouraging this online. And sock puppet, this is kind of a new term for the situation. So I always ask the kids, if I have a puppet on my hand, I'm pretending to be what? I'm pretending to be somebody else. So we had an incident with a 17-year-old boy. He was pretending to be a 17-year-old girl, and he was targeting the athletes in the school, the basketball players, the football players, the boys. So he would start talking to them, and they thought they were talking to a 17-year-old really cute girl. They weren't. And so he would then ask them for inappropriate pictures. They would send them, and he would hold on to them. He'd screenshot, he'd keep them. And then he would ask for more pictures, and then he'd ask for physical things. And if they did not come over, he would get mad, and he would blast them online, posting their inappropriate pictures. This went on for years, and there were so many victims that he did this to. It finally stopped when he targeted one of the victim's little brothers, and the victim did not want his brother to go through what he went through, so he told his parents, and they got a hold of law enforcement, and this kid was sentenced in jail for 15 years over this. So it's a very serious situation. And then there's exploitation, which is what this kid did. He posted the nude pictures online, which is exploitation. And we're going to go a little bit more in depth with that in just a little bit. So if you are being cyberbullied, your kid's being cyberbullied, or you know somebody that else is, it's always good to put down the technology. Give it time. Whether if it's in-person friends or unknown online friends, put down the technology and take a breather. Think about it, give it time. Settle and cool down, have an offline conversation with the trusted adult. So rather, if you're the trusted adult as a parent, a grandparent, aunt, a guardian, it doesn't matter, be there for the child. And don't necessarily get on to them, that this is their fault, they shouldn't have done this, because they need you in that moment. They need you to help them, so that's why they went to you. Do you know the person in real life? Are they friends? Should we end this friendship if it is a friendship in real life? And kind of just talk them through that on there, because they're in a really tough spot and they came to you for a reason. And next is sexting. So sexting is really, really bad, guys. That's the easiest way to explain it. So sexting is the act of sending an inappropriate picture to someone, whether it be very little clothing or no clothing at all. And I don't even know how to put into words how awful this can be for the students. So we have a short little video on this. So this is just kids kind of talking about sexting in general and their perception of it and why kids do it and why this happens. And they're just talking about the extreme consequences that there are, the humiliation, the facing embarrassment, and just what happens when you do share this video or this picture. And oftentimes we're seeing sexting happening on the app Snapchat because it is a photo sharing app and it disappears. It's only out there for 10 seconds, or you can change the time limit on it, and students think this is only going to that one person. But what they do not know is when they downloaded the app, they agreed to the user agreement, and in that there's a scan that is run on every single picture you send. This scan looks for flesh tones, it looks for body parts, and if it detects it, it flags it. and then it goes over to NCMEC, which is the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, and it is viewed by a real person. If it looks like it's a child under the age of 18 and it is a nude picture or an inappropriate picture, it's then sent on to the jurisdiction which that picture was taken in. So like this area would be the Springfield office, and our analyst would view it. If it does look like a child under the age of 18 and it is child pornography, then it is sent on to our investigators to review and to look at. So oftentimes these kids are thinking it's just going to that one person, but it's really not. There could be multiple people looking at it. There could be whoever is receiving the picture, screenshotting it and sending it to multiple other people. Once you send this picture, your child loses control of it. They have no control over who it goes to. They have no control over if it is being shared or resurfacing, and it can just be extremely dangerous. There are major consequences with that. Like I said, the kids lose control of their image. There's the risk of people sharing it. We have another video where it talked to the kids about, it was kind of a little cartoon, and a girl shares her image to her boyfriend. He screenshots it, sends it to his friends, and his friends send it to others. And then it gets back to her little brother. It gets back to her mom, pops up on their devices. So that would just be absolutely awful. It is extremely humiliating. Not only can it take a toll on the kid's mental health, it can also have legal effects in it. It is a crime to have child pornography on your phone, and if you're under the age of 18 or your child is, and they're sending a picture of themselves where they are naked or nude, then that is child pornography, and they are distributing it. If it's going to somebody else and that person screenshots it and it's on their phone, they are now in possession of child pornography. And if they send it to someone else, then they're distributing child pornography. So it's a very serious issue, not only mentally, but it can have major effects on the person. So here are the consequences again, that the photo could get leaked, shared by somebody else. There's no control once the picture is out. You can't trust people. We had an incident with a 16-year-old girl. Her boyfriend was just hounding her for a picture. And this went on for months until he finally threatened to break up with her over it. She didn't want that to happen, of course, She thought the love of her life, so she sent the picture. He screenshotted it, shared it with others. And she had no idea this happened until 6 months later, a cop was knocking on her door asking her about the incident because her photo was shared with everybody, and she had no clue. It's a major impact on your self-esteem, your self-respect. You don't have to do this, so please make sure your kids know that this is not a must. They don't have to do this to fit in. They don't have to do this to be loved, and that's what oftentimes we are seeing. Like I said, you lose control of this picture, so you don't know where it's going to go, and it can be illegal. And why should we care with teens? There is just the where it is illegal, and it explains that child pornography is the visual deception of a minor. And then for parents, in juvenile court, they can rule that the child would need parental supervision. So it comes back on the parents and the teen in the end, or it can. And the next is sextortion. So kind of like the 17-year-old that I talked about, where he shared the inappropriate pictures of others, that is what sextortion is. Oftentimes we are seeing kids being offered money, gift cards in return for an inappropriate picture. Somebody will message them online and be like, hey, don't you play Xbox? Don't you want a $20 gift card for Xbox? And they'll be like, yeah. And it's, send me this inappropriate picture. So you just never know what people's intentions are. We're seeing a lot of trends right now where kids are being asked to send videos or pictures of their feet, videos of standing on their sibling's stomach, doing a cartwheel. It seems extremely innocent to the child, but it is just the predator starting. From then on, it'll be, send me a video of you using the bathroom. Send me a video of you in the shower. And it just steadily increases. It's absolutely disgusting, and the kids think it's very innocent in the beginning, but there are extremely ill intentions with this. So for sextortion, it is extremely embarrassing for the victim. If they fail to comply, then they are sextorted, so their image is posted online. I was at a conference in Dallas where a teenage girl was talking about this and how she was a victim of sextortion. She met a boy online, they started chatting, conversation was great, and it just steadily increased over time, and he was giving her attention, and then it went into asking her for pictures. She would send the pictures, and then he would give her a time frame on when she had to send more. She was a high school athlete. She was in school, she had a family, she had friends. And if she did not comply and send these pictures in that time frame, he would friend her family on Facebook. He'd friend her family on Instagram and then threaten to send those pictures to them. She describes it as she felt like she was a slave to this man. She had to do it in the time frame he said, when he wanted. If it was blurry, not the right angle, anything like that, then he would threaten to extort her and post these online. And then, so that was another video, but it's not going to work. So here are just news clippings that I always try and show the kids that this is real. This is not, me trying to scare you about the dangers online or making this up. The Wisconsin teen was a 17-year-old that was sextorting all of the kids. There are clippings about suicide where they were the victims of sextortion or exploitation, and this wouldn't stop, and they were afraid to ask for help. Please explain to your kids that it's okay to ask for help. Oftentimes they're afraid that they are going to get in trouble at home. They're going to get in trouble at school, but the consequences are far worse, with their mental aspect, with the physical aspect of things, and you don't want to lose your child over them being afraid to ask for help. If this continues, it's okay to go to the SRO at school. It's okay to go to local law enforcement and ask for help from somebody else. And then the red flags that students should see online and that you should watch for as a parent if you're monitoring their accounts are reminding them that nobody should be asking your child to be their boyfriend or girlfriend online, to talk to them on a different app. If they're chatting on Snapchat or Instagram and somebody asks them to download Kik or WhatsApp, that's a major red flag because they're taking the conversation somewhere else and you don't know what is going to be asked. If they're asking your child to hide their relationship, to not tell their family, and to keep them a secret, it's another major red flag, along with asking them for pictures in return for gift cards or money. This was Ashley. She explains how she felt like she was a slave to the man and everything that she went through. And then this is one of the very few resources that are out there if your image has been shared or your child image has been shared. So this is a cyber tip line, which is through the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. I always try and tell the kids there are very, very, very few resources for this. You can go online and make a cyber tip if your child's image has been shared, or your child can make a cyber tip, and they will try their absolute best to get this content removed and get it off the internet so it is not seen anymore. And then who has your child's back and who is their safety net? So this is where the trusted adult comes in and being there for your kid and being able to talk to them. On our Online Safe, Online Smart website, there are different conversation starters where you can start the conversation with your kids and just be like, hey, can you show me how this app works? Can you show me who your friends are online? And if you are seeing inappropriate content or they are asking for help, there's a sheet on how you can respond to this and what you can do to help them. So oftentimes kids' trusted adults are their parents, their neighbor, grandparent, aunt, uncle, and sometimes it's even the principal at school, a teacher they trust, anybody like that. So you always want to be there for them no matter what. And then with parental controls, I cannot endorse anything and recommend certain apps that would be good for this, but it's always a good idea to check the call logging, the blocking, who they are blocking, who they are talking to, if they are deleting anything, their text logs, app managing, and seeing what is out there for this. You want to make sure their location is turned off. Their location's not on where anybody can see where they are at, and monitoring what they're looking at online, what they're searching, and time limiting the amount of time they are spending online. And then here's just the checklist we have. We have a user agreement up here where you can look at that and just see the different options there are that you can talk to your kid about, setting time limits, setting certain apps that they can use, enable privacy controls, parental controls, and learn the trends. Get on social media and see what's trending. Scroll through TikTok, Instagram. We also do webinars every month that kind of talk about different safety precautions. I did one last month over Be Real and the new trending apps and the new features that are being used. I'll be doing one in February over special needs and internet usage and technology usage because it's a major need, You just never know what the new apps are and what is going to be on those. So, And then here's just another option for parental controls where you can go and you can kind of scroll through and see what they have to say about that and what they recommend. And there's also wait till 8th. So it is an app where parents are talking about, they're recommending their child be a certain age and be in 8th grade to get a phone, get technology, and just talking about if the child even needs that. Is there a need for them to have a phone? Who do they need to contact? Are they in a situation that they do need this? And then this is our Online Safe, Online Smart website. So there's parental, teacher, and then student tabs on this. The parents is where all your resources are going to be, where you can start the conversation, how to respond. The student section has options where they can get help on setting up accounts and how to manage their accounts. And if you are an educator, there's resources on there that you can use in the classroom. And our webinar link is also on here where you can view our webinars, and they are recorded and posted if you're not able to make the webinar at the time of it. And then here's just the example of what the tab looks like for the parents. And then here's also a different list of resources. The Online Safe, Online Smart is our website. Common Sense Media is a wonderful website if you're wanting to look at different apps or games or movies. They rate this and then they give their suggested age that the child should be to get on the app, to watch the movie, to play the video game. And there are just tons of different resources on this website where you can look at. Fozzie is another great resource. We have a couple flyers up here for them, and they have tons of information. NetSmarts has different videos like Into the Cloud. This is NCMEC's version, and they post different videos on students managing websites and getting on apps and how to deal with different situations. And then cyberbullying and Stop Cyberbullying, they just give different scenarios and situations on cyberbullying and what you can do to get help. And then here's our flyer for the webinars that we host. It's kind of hard to read because it's so small, but you can get on our website and see the flyer for that and the different things we offer. And then the Safe to Help is a completely anonymous tip line. If a child is having suicidal thoughts, if there's somebody threatening them at school, they're threatening the school, they can get on there and they can make a request and talk to somebody online, and it's 100% anonymous. The 988 is a crisis hotline if your child is having suicidal thoughts or thinking about self-harming. Okay, do we have any questions about anything? Apps, games, anything at all? If you can't think of anything now, but you think of it later, there's my email and my phone number, and please feel free to call me, email me with anything you might need. Okay, thank you guys so much.
All right. Well, that's going to conclude our presentation for this evening. As she stated before, if you have any questions, if you think of something else later on down the line, you feel free to contact her directly, or you can go through me. And if need be, I'm sure we can arrange some other time in the future where we can have her back. And like she was saying before, as far as the technology goes, keeps evolving, and there's always things that we have to be aware of. So as far as parents, students, kids, we have to make sure that we're in front of this thing. Yes. Does she need to come up here? I'm sorry. Hey, you come up. I think we're still live.
Yes, oftentimes there can be, implications for a child sending their own picture. It has a huge mental aspect on them. If their image is shared and they think they're trusting that person, it takes a toll on themselves mentally, physically, but there can be legal actions taken if, somebody is making them do this and they're just sending it to absolutely whoever they can. There can be legal aspects on that. They can, yeah. If they're generating porn, they can, yes. Yeah. It's hard once they get over the age of 18, but as a minor, they can get in trouble with juvenile court.
My grandson, he likes to watch the sports games. Is it danger in the sports game?
What's he watching them on?
I think it's YouTube.
YouTube? Okay, so if it's like a live action, somebody's, recording themselves playing a basketball game, it's kind of hard because you never know what they're going to say. If it's just a regular app where they're playing basketball, on that app, I would think it would be okay as long as there's not a chat function. When there is the chat function and there's the ability to make comments, that's when it can get kind of dangerous because you don't know what somebody else is going to say. Along with like Discord and Twitch, they are two really popular apps among the gamers because people can live stream themselves playing a game, but there's no moderation on these apps. It's not like, do what? Discord and Twitch. So a lot of gamers record themselves playing, but the problem with this is it's live streamed. So it's not pre-recorded, and it's not like Facebook and Instagram where if it's reported, it'll get taken down if it's inappropriate content. With this, it's in the moment, so people can say absolutely whatever, and there's nobody there to watch it or to monitor it. So the only thing with those, if you do have a gamer child or they like getting on these, is to make sure they're getting on servers with people they know, not just complete strangers that are live streaming.
My son is older now, but remember when we first began to give him games, and I thought at the one time that they used to go in the store and buy the games, but then when they started the interactive streaming, he was quite younger, and late, so one day we were hearing voices, so I went in his room and he was playing with older players. He was like 7 or 8 at the time, and these were grown men.
Yeah.
That he was, it was like live, and I had some real issues with that at that time, and I was just wondering, had they regulated that, but apparently not.
No, a lot of it's extremely risky. So a lot of those games where you can kind of just join with whoever do have extreme risks because people are talking and chatting back and forth and you don't know what they're going to say. So a lot of the times I recommend to the kids to keep your chat function off. Make it to where you can't talk and only get on these games with people in your neighborhood, with people you go to school with, rather than getting on just random ones with complete strangers. And that is an option on most. No, you're fine.
I noticed today that the kids, they don't use the actual name in the contact. They don't use their friend's actual name. Is that a new trend today? Because I do go through my granddaughter's phone, and we have Bork. I don't know if you heard of Bork, but we have Bork on it. It would notify me of anything inappropriate.
Mhm.
But I noticed that they don't use their friend's actual name. So is that a trend today?
Are you seeing like nicknames or just emojis?
They are,
Like the little pictures? Okay.
they making up names. That's the deal?
It could be just a complete innocent thing, nicknames that they're just making up for each other at school, but there can also be the aspect of making up a nickname to not give the true identity because it could be somebody that they're not supposed to be talking to.
That's my concern. You mentioned the bullying aspect earlier, and I remember maybe 2 or 3 years ago, there was a young lady, she was bullied by a native even some years in school, and she took her own life. If a child, even if they're 12, 13, 10, 11, if they are caught up in that type of scenario, and another child ends up taking their life because of their actions, is there legal ramifications for that 10, 11, 12-year-old as well?
Do you know for that one? Sorry.
A whole lot of will have to go into that. Of course, a full-fledged investigation. In fact, we were just talking about a case several years ago when there was a teen who committed suicide. Then it was found out that the girlfriend was basically bullying the teen to commit this, and when she was eventually found guilty. So there are some legal ramifications, but those are really going to have to be specific to that case. So, but going back to what you were talking about as far as YouTube, and as Alyssa was explaining, you have to be careful of is just blind searching. Some people would think it's okay, you sit your kid in front of an iPad, or they're just watching these cartoons on YouTube. Sometimes, and actually what I have actually seen, are people going on those and altering that content on YouTube. So it'll start off as a child's program, and in the middle of it, it'll just switch to something outrageous or some sort of pornography or something ridiculous right in the middle of it. So if you're just trusting your child just to go watch that on their own, you have no idea what just popped up. So your involvement, your supervision has to be paramount, has to be at the forefront of anything your kid gets on. So if your child has a capability to communicate with anybody that you don't know, then you have to make sure that you know what's going on. This is a very deep topic, and as we start getting the ball rolling of different questions, I'm sure probably even after you leave here, you're going to have more and more questions. So you don't have to get them all in a night, but again, we can reschedule something for another time for her to come back and we can hammer out some other questions. Does anybody else have anything? That has been streamed to the Facebook page, and I believe Jeanette's going to drop this on the YouTube as well. And also in front of us too, she has given us free literature, so please come up and take a copy of each one of those pamphlets. Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, it really depends. If they're just sharing just a regular fight that's happening at school, there's really nothing. But if somebody's actually getting hurt under the guise of the darkness, if no one's around, if someone's being purposely picked out and attacked from some sort of mob action, some sort of criminality is concerned, and they're sharing that, if they're not coming to law enforcement with that information and somebody actually really gets hurt, then the ramifications would be for them just not coming forward. They would be considered as an accessory to that. Not necessarily the fact that they're sharing something, is that they're an accessory to some sort of crime. Very good questions. Yes. Oh, yeah. All right. You have anything to add on that one?
That's along with kind of just checking who they're talking to, and if you are asked for that, like Social Security or anything like that, be like, why? Show me who's wanting this, and let them kind of guide you through it and see just who they are talking to. And that's why we always try and talk about private information and public information. What information should you keep offline? Your address, where you go to school, anything like that. So just reinforcing that at home and reminding them, we don't share this stuff online, so. Okay, do we have any others? Okay, well, thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it.